YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back in Total War Warhammer 2, where we're going to be seeing ConsulofRome facing off against Bobman on Doc Kraz in an awesome Warhammer World Championship matchup that he submitted to me on my Discord. If you have replays that you want me to check out, you can submit them on my Discord. We have different threads for them there, so they can come from other Total War games as well. Or you can always email me a replay at airtotalwar@gmail.com. It's just all one word. Don't have to worry about any caps. Anyway, this is going to be High Elves versus Wood Elves. Interesting matchup, to say the least. The Wood Elves having gotten significantly better, in my opinion, in the DLC update that they got. Now, I do think that they took some nerfs, probably, in the latest patch, as that's... I mean, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, to be fair, but so I was busy with some other stuff. But typically what CA will do is they'll release something and then nerf it, sometimes overly nerf it. It just depends on what happens, but in any case, got the Wood Elves here, led by a High Spellweaver. She's going to have Apotheosis and it looks like Tempest to control flyers, which is a good choice, though there are no High Elf flyers this time. But I still like the choice of Tempest, the safe way to control that if needed. And then we got Soul Quench here, which is a magic missile, which honestly is pretty decent if you use it right, as far as helping to destroy infantry blobs and other stuff. There was a nice dodge early on of the fireball. There's another dodge here, so the Bobman doing a good job putting the dodge on that magic. Now, as far as the High Elf army, we've got Spearmen up front, and then they are backed up by some units of Rangers and Lothern Seaguard with shield, and then there is one Shadow Warrior unit, which Shadow Warrior is just decent in melee. They're not the poison one like the Shadow Walker. Shadow Walker probably a little too expensive, and maybe not what was wanted here. I do like the pick of Lothern Seaguard with shield, though. This is going to help a lot against the skirmishers of the Wood Elves, since they're going to have a block chance. There are some Silver Helms and Illyrian Reavers trying to keep back a Glade Riders and Wild Riders. There's a Burning Head right down the Dryads here, which was well placed, but there was a Soul Quench and a rear charge by the Wild Riders that devastated a Spearman on the left flank of the High Elves, so very well played by Bobman there, and ConsulofRome did get some good damage done on the Dryads. That was a good play by him, and so far a pretty balanced battle at the moment. The Silverhelms, though, taking a bit of a beating here, and they're going to become vulnerable to the Wild Riders, who have an especially powerful charge. Their charge is actually right up there with the Silverhelms, so it's a powerful unit on the charge. Illyrian Reavers probably make good work of these Spear Riders. However, they're going to get hit by a Wild Rider here, and that will be more than they can handle. The High Elf Prince, of course, is probably going to have a hard time finding a lot of action because he's slower to move around, but at the same time, he's going to be tanky and difficult to kill, and it was probably meant to not be an easily sniped target, which was probably a solid choice. You can see here it's going to go in and help clean up some Dryads. So there goes the Prince, putting a beating on them. You can see, though, back here, some Lothern Seaguard get caught into melee with Dryads, which is not good for them. They won't die just instantly, but it's not a good fight for them. The Rangers over here do manage to get in some Dryads, which probably will be a decent fight for them. I say that, no, never mind. The Dryads have decent armor, so it'll take a while for the Rangers to clean that up. I forget Dryads have pretty decent armor and physical resistance, I believe. Whew. Yeah, another Burning Head here. Gets some decent damage done on these Glade Guard with Starfire Shafts. That's a nice armor-piercing pick of archers as well. And then I like how a Glade Rider has been kept back here to protect them, as well as some War Dancers with Azray Spear. Very patient play. Some more Azray Spear, which are now going to be involved in this flank where they feel like they're needed. And a pretty tough unit, though. Probably don't want them engaged with Rangers or Spearmen. It's probably not an ideal use of their time. Look at this, a very nice charge by that reserve Glade Rider into the Shadow Warriors, taking care of a pretty expensive unit and denying it the opportunity to be in melee. Well, in a melee that it would like, I should say. Giving it an opportunity for melee, just not one that it would enjoy. Got some Wild Riders moving in for a rear charge here, too, on these Lothern Seaguard, but they've got a Loex Blessing there. Stalk, unspottable, and speed. Here comes another Soul Quench, and it was a nice hit on the Silverhelms. Did some decent damage before that charge. But at this point, the Wood Elf Cavalry will take a bit of a beating in this fight. We'll see, though. The Prince is up in here. Yeah, you can see the Wild Riders got back out. There's reinforcements headed in, so See what's happening. Again, relatively balanced power bar at the moment. We're going to see another burning head. That is a lot of burning heads. Moderate damage, I think, on that unit of Glade Guard. And there'll be a little bit of damage there. Burning Head is a difficult spell to dodge. In the right circumstances, it gets a ton of damage done. When a unit is in a looser formation, it lessens that damage slightly. Seeing Apotheosis here on the Wild Riders. That's a good call. Use that healing. Apotheosis is a pretty cheap spell in terms of Winds of Magic. Doesn't do a ton of healing, but hey, every little bit is always useful, especially at this point in a game where you are having a pretty close slug out with your opponent. See, again, the power bar is still kind of right in the middle here, but look at those Starfire Shafts. Still multiple units of them, even though some are a little beat up, but getting some extremely nice rear shots into the Spearman, who's engaged with the Azray Spear in a direction that is not favorable to it in terms of missile block chance. Over here you can see the High Elves trying to put out the last of the Glade Guard. There had been this Eagle Claw bolt throw. It didn't do a ton of damage. The best target for it would have been the Glade Guard, but I think it's been distracted for quite some time with different melee fights, having to keep itself protected. But yeah, the best target definitely would have been the spread shot out onto the Glade Guard. None of the other targets here were particularly valuable for the bolt thrower. I think it was also probably meant to be able to counter the maybe better range that the Wood Elves could bring. For instance, if they relied on something like Deepwood Scouts or Way Watchers. Silverin Guard now is on the opposite side. They're going to get hit with the rear charge here and probably routed. They survived the charge, but I don't know how much longer they can go in this fight. They're overmatched considerably. There they go. They're out. And at this point, Power Bar starting to swing against the High Elves, and understandably so. They're just starting to have very few tools left, and you've still got some mobility here for the Wood Elves. And mobility is a big deal late into a game. You definitely don't want to be left without it. The charges can be devastating on already damaged units. The ability to mop up routing units, it is definitely a big deal. You see the Starfire Shaft starting to run low of ammunition, so they won't be able to have too much more impact on the battle from range, and they'll have to go into melee. The High Elves do have some kind of spread out units that they're probably trying to bring back as they notice them. This unit was probably just unnoticed for a moment. I mean, I would be lying if I said I never did something like that, because I absolutely do. The Prince is very tough, and in a melee, the Prince could easily beat down the high, what do you call it? The Spellweaver with the high magic. That said mage or whatever. It's not really a mage. The Spellweaver with high magic. Easily so. And if it weren't for the War Dancers, arguably the Prince might be able to beat pretty much everything left on the battlefield, but those War Dancers do have AP and pretty solid melee defense. It's going to be a bit of a rough final fight here. Number one, because the High Elves are in a position where they're almost certainly going to be surrounded. They don't have the mobility, and they can be cycle charged by certain units. I am going to fast forward for a second to get to the final engagement here, which appears to be very near. There is some Lothern Seaguard with a few shots left. I like that they're picking at the War Dancers. I think that's the right target. And then over here, they're going to take a pot shot at the Wild Riders. Two very good targets to pick at, as they are certainly the most threatening, and they are both relatively vulnerable to the missiles from the Lothern Seaguard, though it's getting a little bit spread apart here, where it could get picked off by a quick charge. But, to be fair, it doesn't have a lot of ammunition left, like another shot or so, and it's basically going to be there. You can see it's choosing to fire at the Wild Riders right now. The War Dancers are going to come in. So it's going to be a tough unit to take down. The Prince will help considerably, and the Spears will do okay because the War Dancers don't have much armor, but the melee defense of the War Dancers will be difficult to overcome. See the Spellweaver back here combined with the Wild Riders will easily knock out the Spear unit that was guarding there. And then up front, despite taking some decent damage, the War Dancers will go ahead and win this fight. And now the Prince is getting tossed around by cavalry charges and just can't hold up his leadership on his own. He's no Tyrion. Not that type of prince, at least. So it is going to be a close and valiant defeat for Consul of Rome, and I do appreciate him submitting this. Some people like to see replays where the submitter doesn't always win, but I have to admit I don't really blame submitters for not sending in replays where they lose, because at least from my standpoint, a lot of times when I lose, I just feel like that I didn't play right, and the replay isn't very interesting. In this case, like, I don't feel like Consul of Rome just did a million things wrong. It was a relatively close battle, you know, it was one of those ones that, I mean, I think that makes for a more entertaining loss when you're going to submit it, and that's another reason why I appreciate him submitting it, because when you are watching it, at least through most of the battle, it was a little bit difficult to tell who was going to come out on top on this one. So congrats to Consul of Rome and Bobman, both on a good game played, and their participation in the Warhammer World Championship. Takes a lot of guts to step up and play in these things, so good to see both these players in here. And well played here by Bobman to take the victory. I thought the use of the high Spellweaver was really good here. 69 kills. Not a lot of value, but I mean, honestly, most of the value from this unit is going to come in healing friendly units, or if you manage to get a Tempest. And there was no use of Tempest, and so I felt like, all things considered, that's a lot of damage dealt for a unit that is not typically high damage dealing. The Dryads, I think, are a nice pick here, supporting them with some spears and armor-piercing archers with plenty of mobility. And this is a big change, because the Glade Riders with spears offer a much more affordable mobility component to the Wood Elves that just previously was not there. So I really like this this pick for the Wood Elves, and feel like that that's a nice use of mobility to help give them some advantages against the High Elves that they typically wouldn't have. You had the one Silver Helm with Shield, one Silver Helm, and Illyrian Reaver, just not able to get all the work done. They couldn't deal with all the Wild Riders and Glade Riders with spears. I do like the pick of the Lothern Sea Guard with shields, as they are competent in melee against light cavalry. Now, they would get hurt on a charge, theoretically, by the Wild Riders, but they can fight decent afterwards, so, and they have a missile block chance. So again, I'm not sure I totally disagree with the build here from ConsulofRome. It didn't work out in this particular case, wasn't able to make it work out. I'd be curious what if anything, ConsulofRome thinks that he would have done different if given the opportunity, or if some of you all are competitive players. Would love to hear your comments on that. In any case, HeirofCarthage signing out for now. Appreciate both the players, and appreciate ConsulofRome submitting this one. Do hope you enjoyed it. Keep an eye out for more content coming soon on the channel. Remember, every Tuesday and Thursday it will be streaming. Right now, those streams are focused on the Wreckhearth campaign and Total War Warhammer 2. That's mostly just because it's new, and I want to complete it quickly. Most of the mods have updated, so the Grom campaign is about able to continue. The only one that hasn't updated is the Grand Campaign custom map mod. And we may be able to just continue without it. But in any case, I want to finish up Wreckhearth. Obviously, as soon as I can show you, I will show you more Rome Total War Remastered. If I could show it to you, it would be up already, but obviously I can't. So I'm waiting for that stuff to be become available. So keep an eye out for that as it comes to, and appreciate all those who watched that. That was obviously a very popular video on the channel. But yeah, keep an eye out. Lots of great content coming. HeirofCarthage signing out for now.